Yes, my name is Lou Bemer, and I'm the Director of Information Systems at Contractor Nation, just up here in Seymour, Connecticut.
And what does Contractor Nation do? I know it's a big company. How old is it?
How much time do we have?
I know. 96 years right now?
Yeah, we're basically, we have a network of networks, and we work with contractors from basement waterproofing to basement finishing, structural repair. We've added fencing, so we're working with our dealers across the country. It's not a franchise, it's a dealer network. So we work with them on sales, marketing. I had to say the word widget because Catherine's here. And we really help their business. And a lot of contractors don't know how to run a business. And our owner, Larry Janeski, has created a 3-year program called School of Entrepreneurship, where these contractors can go and learn about being above the line, how to hire, everything that a contractor would need. And we do that. We actually sell them products. So really we make our money by selling them products, and our Treehouse team sells them leads that they can go out on. That's really where we make our money, but it's in their best interest to stay with us, because to go out and get a marketing firm and then get somebody that can teach them sales, you're spending a lot more money, and we don't charge for most of the services we provide for them.
And this panel is going to be about digital transformation, but I'm just going to do the introductions first.
Great.
Nasir, please go ahead.
Hi everyone, Nasir Mannan. I'm the Principal Engineer at the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology. For those of you that don't know, and I'm going to say CCAT, that's our acronym. We're up in East Hartford, Connecticut. We have 3 facilities. The facility that I'm in is the Advanced Technology Center. It's located within the Raytheon Technology Research Center. We are the central R&D facility for manufacturing companies to come to see what's the latest and greatest technologies that they can use. We focus on digital thread, digital twin technologies, additive, and composites. We're private nonprofit, 503c, state and federally funded. So most of the programs that we have are at no cost to companies here in Connecticut. And I'll talk more about what we do as we get into the digital transformation.
And to your left is one of your beneficiaries of
Yes.
the work you guys done. And you guys done a lot of work together. So go ahead, Guy, please.
I'm Guy Darter. I'm CEO and owner of Darter Specialties, and we do decorating of apparel and promotional items. We're very heavy in the franchise world, where we set up websites for each of the companies. They go online, they purchase it, and it runs through our system. We produce it, we ship it out. And I've used CCAT for many years, both on the grant program, and they actually build a lot of the jigs I use in my equipment. So great opportunity. You need to get to know them if you're a manufacturer.
I'm going to start with you, Guy, because your digital transformation over the past 5 years, you've done a lot, right? I can honestly say that, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to kind of start about when you started your most recent digital transformation, the past 4 or 5 years, I'll say. What was the hardest part? What was when you started looking at it, like, okay, where am I going with this? What was the number one thing to say, okay, I've got to move forward in digital transformation?
It really came because we were using a very antiquated accounting system called MYOB, Mind Your Own Business.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, and it was great when we were knocking on doors and taking in that way. We were on a Mac-based system, or we do nothing but Macs, and we were informed that they were no longer supporting Mac because of the new chips that Mac was using, and we would either go on their cloud system, which was really not conducive to using on Macs. And that forced us to looking at an accounting system among everything else, and we didn't really have an ERP system. And Matt's been doing our website work for years, and we keep on pushing the envelope through our Magento sites. And we came up with NetSuite, and we really got into NetSuite out of pure necessities. Our accounting system was going down. And then we just started to build from NetSuite. So we went from a very antiquated back end. Our front end was always state of the art. We always put all our money into our websites and our customer experience and everything else. And our accounting system was almost paper and pencil. And to transform from that into NetSuite was a long process and very, very hard process in the fact that we had to learn a lot. And my team my bookkeeper, who has been using Mind Your Own Business for 32 of my 34 years in business. We were actually afraid she was going to retire because she's not good at learning new systems, and she's eaten this system up, which is amazing. But that's been the hardest part, is taking everything we did in our brain and on paper, and then trying to explain it and get it to work in NetSuite, and then tie NetSuite into Magento, and then into our order, our APIs, so everything's ordered automatically, and our shipping system, because we had like 5 different systems that never talked to each other, and we had to put it all together in one. It took us 2 years by the time we got done, and a lot more money than we ever expected. But at the end, we're probably saved, with our growth, we probably saved 3 people positions a year.
And I'll turn to Nasir, because when we talk about teamwork and building that transformation from, older generations to newer generations, one of the things that your team focuses a lot on is how do we get people into the digital transformation that are, a little over 50, right? A lot over 50. Nasir, can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, it's, I think there's really, we have kind of 5 stages, right? One is, we have to have people know what they don't know. So it's about holding events, it's about getting the word out, what are the technologies that are out there, and what value do those technologies give to, companies. And then the second stage would be then doing specific demonstrations of those technologies on your, for your specific company. So, give us your parts, your processes, whatever it is that we can take from you to be able to demonstrate the technology, whether or not it's actually going to be good for you. We'll go through the process of even customizing the software to the point where configuring the software to the point where, we can best show its light in the effect that it can have for you. Then from there, we go on to supporting adoption. And this comes in a couple different ways. One is that we have grants available. There's 2 specific grants, the Innovation Voucher Program and the Manufacturer Voucher Program. The first one gives you up to $25,000, the other one gives you up to $100,000. But they're very specific on the types of technologies that you can apply for. And you have to be a small company, like between 3 and 300 employees. If you do adopt the technology, we can support installation, customization, and then we have a digital threat lab, which helps companies, actually get trained in the specific, software solutions. We don't train on everything. We have tech partners, we'll refer, but I think these are the basic steps. It really starts with knowing what you don't know. Then I know what I don't know, and then showing you what the value is of that solution, without taking too much time or resources from you. That's why the central R&D lab is important, because it's an environment where you don't have to stop your processes. Come to us, let us test it out for you at our lab. You'll see the impact, and then we can go from there.
So when you start about your digital transformation, you just went through one, started on a journey recently about 3 years ago.
Yes.
Can you talk to everybody about that? What was your journey?
Yeah, and in hearing all of the speakers before and hearing everybody up here, and they're all great systems, but the system is only good as the people that are running them. And not only do you need people that are invested in it, but also people that can lead that. And we've been very lucky, because the people that we have, and there's a lot of them here, they've been very invested in it. They've, like myself, I've been there 20 years. People have been there 15 years. So they know how the company works. They know what makes sense for our dealers. And no matter what project we're working on, we're always saying, how does this affect our dealers? And because if it doesn't, or if it's in a negative, then it doesn't make sense. We were talking about paper catalogs, and some of the girls back there were probably twitching because they worked on them from October to March. But as anybody knows, as soon as that paper catalog is done, it's out of date. So with working with Matt and having the e-commerce site, which was tried twice, but it really wasn't effective because we didn't have somebody dedicated. I actually started in dealer support. I basically created this position that I'm in now, and it probably saved our company about $60,000 a year. And we now have an adoption of about 90 to 95% of our dealers are ordering online because contractors aren't sitting in the office during the day. Better time is after work. So, but the big digital transformation we went through was we moved to NetSuite from Great Plains. And thankfully, Matt was the one that actually keyed us in that Great Plains was going to be sundowning or was going to be changing in the next couple of years. So we took it upon ourselves with Rosemary, our CFO, to really be able to make that transformation. And it has been a 2-year process. We have completely revamped our shipping department, which I don't want to say they didn't have any process, but they didn't have a digital process. Now everything at a moment's notice, you know where it is, when it's coming in. Our purchasing team, our customer service team, it's all right there. It's not like what people were saying, you have this part over here and this part over here, and how do you get it all together? NetSuite and the team that we have really have helped make that. And you do have your daily challenges, but the transformation we went to was from that horse and buggy to we're in a rocket ship right now. And like I said, the people are what make it. I'm just lucky to stand up here. It's the people that are out there that do this every day. They're the ones that make this happen.
And you said a key thing I want to kind of pivot on is like, whenever we've done digital transformation, we have success. But what were the challenges? What were the things? What were the failures? What are the lessons learned that you can share with everybody else that you learned?
You know, I think one of the biggest challenges was we heard, well, that's the way we've always done it. And I use the analogy, we used to drill holes in people's heads to let the evil spirits out, but we stopped doing that. Might be a good time to change. Now, we do have people that have been there longer than I have, and getting them to change how they're doing things. But once you visually show them, it's going to save you 4 steps. Like you were saying, it saved you 3 people. It's going to save you this amount of time during the day. You know, with the catalog, that saved literally 6 to 8 months of somebody's time. So now they can focus on other things. So I think it was getting them to realize that this is a much better system. And anytime that I look at something, because we tried to bring in Salesforce. Matt tried to shy me away from it, but seeing it, we didn't have that investment in it, so it didn't work. But when you show somebody, here's the end result, and here's what you're going to be able to do, it makes a world of difference. That was probably our biggest challenge that we're still seeing now, but people are kind of coming around to it.
Guy, you want to jump in on that one?
Exactly the same problem. Is just the way we've always done it. Well, you can't do it this way anymore.
Right.
You know, and then tying both of our you know, we use one thing. It tells you what to do on the product. There's also our packing slip, and it's also have the shipping label built right onto the packing slip. Well, that was never done before, so it was a very hard process of, okay, you don't have to do anything except for scan it. Okay, read it. It's all here. It follows the program. But it was definitely, and it was also getting the system, getting Matt's people to understand exactly what we needed at the end, and sometime explaining what you're trying to get to was a hard discussion, because, well, this is what I want. But no, you don't necessarily want that. You just want a better end result, and that took a lot of, let's try it this way, let's try it that way.
I have a comment.
Are you trying to think something?
I wasn't gonna
interject.
Sorry.
You couldn't hold on.
I can just say I learned because we all are, you know, remote workers and cloud-based computing, and you can but the value of going into his business and like shoulder to shoulder looking at what they're doing had and I think an incredible impact. And I think with Contractor Nation too, like that face-to-face on-site experience was super valuable. Yeah.
Nasir, you want to jump in on that? Because you do a lot of on-site collaboration with manufacturers.
Yeah, I mean, there are, you know, 2 different schools of thought that I typically encounter. One is the upper management and, you know, what's the ROI of the technology? And then you have the folks that have to actually exercise that technology. And we fall under the, I've been doing it this way for a while. It's gonna take, you know, we're afraid. It's a change. We're comfortable doing it this way. We know that if we're in a pinch, what we have to do, and now you're asking us to use a different piece of technology. So typically, if you can show the ROI to the upper management, you can get a buy-in fairly quickly, so long as you can show that value and you can show what they're gonna save and you can show the impact that it's gonna drive the company. But on the folks on the shop floor that you know, it's about coming up with a plan for, you know, worker upskilling. But really, I think what companies get hesitant about is if they're gonna wanna try a technology, right, on site. This is where we see the most challenge. So it requires resources from the company, right, time. It requires a dedicated kind of project manager, and it requires there's some costs involved. And so to be able to demonstrate a technology's impact for the company on site typically is very difficult to do. So that's, and what we've learned is that we have to have, you know, a lab that is available as I mentioned, the R&D lab, where we can do a lot of that work and take off that burden. So the company can continue doing their day-to-day, but then we can actually show them, you know, the impact outside of, or having them not have to allocate those resources. So I think in short, what I'm saying is that there's two different thoughts, right? There's the upper management, there's the workers, and we see challenges from.
That's it, and
Yeah.
one of the problems in getting the ROI is making sure you know the real problem.
Right.
And that's where you've gotta get down to the people on the floor.
Yeah.
And so it seems to me, you've gotta convince them first
Yeah.
that there's potential without knowing what it is.
Yeah.
And find out what the real problems are before you give an ROI that might not really address the,
Yeah, I'll give you a for instance if I can.
Yeah, please, yeah.
I can't name the company, but I can name the technology. A manufacturing company that produces aerospace parts had a demand to produce a certain number of parts that they weren't able to hit. Okay, so that was the challenge, and they were panicking a bit. They were looking at, okay, do we add a secondary machine? Do we add a third machine? How many more people do we hire? Do we, you know, add another shift? This is the general mentality or the general kind of thought that a company, or the solution that a company would go after. You know, here we have an opportunity to tell a company about a piece of software that can actually reduce the time, optimize the machining program so that it would reduce the time to produce that part on that one machine, right? So we go in and say, hey, we have a piece of software that may solve your problem. The value here is that it reduces your cycle time. It actually will increase the part quality, and it will extend the life of your tool. So you won't be changing out, you know, your cutting tool quite as often. You'll get a better part out, and you'll be producing that much faster, i.e., that many more parts per hour. Upper management, you know, we can convince them from those figures, and then, you know, compare it against the cost of the software versus how much it's going to cost for them to add another machine or more people. But then on the shop floor, it's, hey, now we have to use another piece of software, right? So that's a whole other challenge. And it's a complicated piece of software to use, but, you know, once you, it's that workforce upskilling. It's just getting over that I have to use something else that is the challenge on the shop floor.
So keeping on the same thread, I kind of want to continue on that part, because this is, as we have aging workforce, we have workforce shortages in the state of Connecticut extensively. How do you, each one of you, and I think I'll start with you guys, if you don't mind, how are you leveraging digital transformation to either help that problem or deal with that problem?
I think what we're finding is by definitely keeping up to the new programs, keeping things more current. You know, my computers don't go down. They don't take a break. They don't call in sick. My systems are working 24 hours a day. And you know, when you have a workforce that it's harder to get. Okay.
Yeah.
I will tell you, anybody under 30 years old is they come in, they think that they are experiences that in most cases They think hours are flexible compared to where they want. They think the phone is part of them able to work. Well, technology doesn't have that. I mean, I don't yell at the computer because it's on his phone, because it's never on the phone. The technology is there. It's never late. It's always on time, and it works 24/7 a day. So we're using technology to reduce our we're growing at such a rate that it's hard would be to hire people to do everything.
Right.
So we use technology in lieu of hiring people for that process. And it also, for the people that are there, what they're finding after they adapt the use of all the software is we're making the job easier, okay? Because purchasing is now, most of it's automated, and what's not, comes up and says, okay, you need to order this, click a button and it sends it out. They don't have to do a PO, they don't have to call, they don't have to write an email, and it's all digital. So it's made their life easier and quicker. And they can do more, but they feel like they're doing less because it's easier to do.
Just
but-
better job satisfaction.
Absolutely,
Okay.
but definitely, there's a learning curve. And I think you gotta have the right person, the right mindset. We have a lot of people that are not computer savvy at
Right.
all,
Right.
okay? We've taught them to be at least computer savvy enough and they like it. And some people don't, and those are the people that literally don't work anymore for us. Because they gotta be, we hire people, we ask everybody, even on the production floor, do you know how to use a computer? And, they know how to use their phone. They think if they can get onto, Snapchat or whatever the heck they are on, that's a computer skill. Well, it's really not.
Right.
But, so we take a lot of people who are motivated to learn a new process, and that really helps. But that's a challenging part, but we're using technology in lieu of people in many cases.
So I'm taking you're not on TikTok yourself.
I have no clue how to get on.
Okay. Just checking, just checking. Nasir, you want to take the same question about workforce enablement? How is the digital transformation, maybe you talk about the Digital Thread Lab, how that's helping with educate the workforce and bring people into the manufacturing world? I know you guys have done a tremendous amount of marketing and promotion and set up a lab for that.
Yeah, our number one goal is to be very focused, right? Be very focused with the companies because their time is very valuable. A minute wasted is a minute too long, right? So very focused trainings, very specific. We don't want to, get the workforce into training programs that are very, very long. I mean, there are programs that are already existing in the state of Connecticut, right, through the education institutions. And we want to identify at the companies what are the skill levels of the workforce on the floor, but we want to do that in a very, in a way that uses the least amount of their time. So we have these very specific questions that we ask. It's a few questions, and it will help to categorize folks, at the company in terms of their skill level for digital technologies. There's really only 3 buckets that we put them in. They're beginner, intermediate, or advanced. I'm using very kind of broad terms. It's more specific than that, but and then the trainings that they can go into based on the technologies that they're going to be getting into. We can identify exactly the courses they need to take, and the courses are a couple of hours to a couple of day type courses. And the focus of the courses is that as soon as you enter, you know nothing. If you're a beginner and within a day or two, you're proficient enough to be able to go and tackle, you're over that, I'm scared to use this new technology, right? You can get into the technology, you know where the buttons are, you're able to accomplish something. And that will, I think, that's really what the Digital Thread Lab is all about. We focus on digital thread technologies, but there's other trainings that happen at CCAT. But that's kind of our approach is, what is your skill level, and get to that understanding of the skill level very quickly, and then identify specific courses that folks need to take that don't take up a lot of their time and get them proficient enough to be able to not be afraid to use the software or the technology.
And Lou, I know you're not directly in the manufacturing side, and do you have the same challenges with, the turnover, the older generations and getting younger workers in? Is that the same thing you're seeing in your work?
Yeah, I mean, our business, we've struggled between where we started, which was more of a mom and pop type of shop, for lack of a better term, to where we really are, which is a mid-sized company. And, our biggest challenge was getting rid of the paper. And just one example, when an order was taken, it would go from customer service down to shipping, then back up to customer service, then back down to shipping. It made like 4 different trips. But just realizing that was something that was normal to them. But for us, it was an inefficiency. So I think it was, like both the gentlemen had said too, it's noticing where those inefficiencies were. And we're still doing it, but the technology is there to augment that and to help that. But like I said, you have to have that strong leader there that can talk with somebody who maybe is in an older generation that is afraid of it, but kind of brings it more at a negative side. So when you break it down to them and you sit with them and say, okay, well, what is the issue? And then you start talking through it, it really isn't as big of a deal to them. And that's where I think it comes into play. They're scared about it, but then they turn it into a negative. But when you break it down for them, it's not as big of a deal as they thought.
Great. And I just have one more question for me, then we'll open up to audience questions. Is really, we look at your digital transformation journey, and you've all been doing digital transformation for 5-6 years around where you. What is your next step, and what are the challenges with that?
Wow.
Sorry.
We're still in the middle of the next.
Guy, Lou's throwing it over to Guy. There we go.
The wheels turning here. It's going to take a while.
So I think the biggest challenge we're facing is we're growing so fast. It's taken us too long to put up a site. We're doing the same process over and over, even though it's all digital and everything else. We haven't found that flow that we need to speed it up. So we're looking at new technology. I'm constantly buying new equipment. We just bought one new piece. I have another piece I'm thinking of buying next week, and all state of the art, or not even state of the industry in some respects. I think I'm looking the same way in our digital. Okay, I've got Magento, I have NetSuite. Now what's next? Because there's always a what's next. And I think that's the thing we always look at, because we got to keep moving, because if you don't, you're done. And what we do is we say, okay, here's a problem, solve it. Right. And Matt gets a phone call, and and Stacy, and it's like, okay, solve it. And it's like, I don't want to solve it in a month. Solve it. 4 o'clock. But we always look at new technology, and I think that's the key to moving forward. Because otherwise, I may be in the same spot I was 5 years ago with my accounting system 5 years from now.
Right.
I would be obsolete, and I'm beating my competition because I'm ahead of them. So I just keep on staying ahead of them, and I'm just beating them to death, and that's great.
Awesome, well done. So Nasir, since you've been working with Guy on this and where we're going at, what are your thoughts on the next things we should be thinking about? Where they go next?
Yeah, I would say make sure that you have the right infrastructure at your facilities. We see that that's sometimes lacking. Infrastructure being your IT, and if you're a manufacturing company, an OT infrastructure. Make sure that you're looking at technologies that are adaptable and not specific, because you want somewhat of a future proof. For example, we're very focused right now, and one of my, a lot of the time that's taken up on my end is looking at automated processes, so automated CNC programming, automated CMM programming. And just as I'm investigating a certain kind of technology, another technology comes out. And it's, we're looking at model-based definition, how we can use that to automate CNC programming, and then suddenly Cloud NC comes out, which is an AI-based CAM solution. You click a button, it does everything for you. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, I have this infrastructure, I have this software, I was just investigating this this solution to be able to, be installed on this infrastructure, and now I have this other solution that may require something different. So what I would say is that for any digital transformation journey, make sure that you're looking at a little bit ahead in terms of the high-speed data, so 10 gig networks. Make sure that you have servers that are, dedicated servers for specific tasks. So if you have manufacturing shop floor, you want to make sure you have a separate server for your MES. You want to have a separate server for your ERP. You want to have a separate server for your product lifecycle management. The reason is because the requirements for these servers are going to change drastically, it's better to have that infrastructure set up. So that's the best, I think, advice that I can give at the moment, because that's what we're going through, and we're just looking to see how we can make sure that, because we're the central R&D lab where companies come to, we have to have the latest and greatest in the lab. And so we're finding it challenging to actually even keep up now with AI being incorporated into everything, and some of the processes now being nearly obsolete. I shouldn't say obsolete, but in terms of technical advantage, they seem to be headed towards the AI route. Is just keeping the infrastructure up to par so that we can actually handle those technologies.
All right, Lou, you had time to think about it. What's your next step in your journey?
Well, next week I'm calling Guy because we're going to take care of his services. No, we still work with a lot of our dealers, and so at our big convention we just had, I had several people coming up and saying, "Hey, I'd like to be able to get my shirts and everything and get them on a quick thing," and then talking with Matt. This is a perfect, segue into it. We're always looking at things, and I know Matt and I talk a lot about different things that are coming up. And, I just wanted to say, I've worked with a lot of third-party companies out there, for different technologies. And again, if somebody, I'm not trying to insult anybody, but the sales pitch is great. And it's, we could do this, can you, do this? Of course we can. And then 2 months down the road, we really can't do that. And, the first time, shame on me, second time, however it goes. But the one thing that we've always worked with Matt and his team on, if they can't do it, they're going to tell us right up. There's no, it's very transparent, very black and white, and they'll tell us why. So it's not like, I can't do this. The reason why is this is not going to help you long-term because of this. So it truly is a partnership, and it sounds hokey and everything, but it really is the best partnership that we have, that I've worked with. And I know that if I pick up the phone and call and ask a question, it's going to be there. So I rely myself a lot on what Matt is seeing in the industry, what things are going. He knows our business, which is very, very complex. It sounds simple, but it's very complex. And what makes sense for us. So even with Salesforce, Matt was like, I don't think so. I don't think it's going to work. And I went against it, and, shame on me. But, you're always looking at, like what Guy said, what is the next step? And for us, we don't know what that next step is. We're still deep in the process of NetSuite and trying to get that to where now we're doing things like, hey, what types of things would you want to have? Not what you need to do your job, but what would make this easier to do. So we're still in the midst of that. I think we will be for several months, but having somebody that knows your business is so much more important than the, I don't want to say lip service, but the sales pitch of we can do it. Because we've gone down that road, it's hurt us, but again, we're coming back. So it's always something we're trying to push forward with.
So you're highlighting what I think Derek and a couple other speakers said earlier, is that partnerships are really important in your digital journey. Right?
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you all. Questions from anybody in the audience? We have 7 more minutes. Ricky?
Yeah, so my question is to the panelists, or maybe someone else in the audience can answer. How does Connecticut stand against other states and against other countries when it comes to adopting digital transformation?
Well, that's a loaded question. Let's go to, I think, made 12% of manufacturing this year, which has been a big change. We've actually, we just left a piece in New Haven where Dan O'Keefe was talking about where Connecticut has expended up to now 12% of our GDP is manufacturing. The goal was 20, right? We've become more of a manufacturing state, and it's changed our processes and the digitalization of all that. Nasir, help me out.
Yeah, I probably won't be able to give you any figures, but Connecticut, we have a lot of aerospace component manufacturers, which aerospace companies traditionally don't change too much. And then we also have a lot of defense suppliers, and defense supply chain has very strict requirements on compliance, cybersecurity, CMMC compliance. And so that is one of the biggest barriers to want to change, because as soon as you adopt new technology, it has to go through this whole process of certification. So if I say that, I don't want to paint a bad picture, but I would say that probably we're not the best at adopting digital transformation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's for, in terms of if you compare us to other states, automotive industry, I think is a little bit better and faster at adopting, but it's just the nature of the kind of manufacturing, the kind of manufacturing that happens in the state. A lot of defense and a lot of aerospace.
It's also the land of steady habits, which sometimes equates to we've always done it this way.
Right.
It's a steady habit. But I say for as small as the state is, it really punches above its weight. It's got a lot of diversity for as the size. That's my take on it. And it has the core industries, but there's a lot of side industries, there's a lot of mom and pop manufacturers that are doing cool stuff. And those are the ones that I'm really excited about, because they're the ones that can jump all in on a new technology and just really run with it. And they're not as constrained as maybe a medium-sized business or someone that's in the military industrial complex that's regulated. They have more flexibility. So I don't know. I don't have the numbers either, but
I can give you the numbers on the aerospace.
Yeah.
Of the 4,500 small manufacturers, i.e. under 500 employees, only 700 of them are in aerospace. So it's significant.
Right.
It's substantial, but it's not overwhelming.
So there's a lot of diversity in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I've seen over the last quite a few years is the attitude from the state government on working with manufacturers. CCAT is a perfect example between grants and helping us, making things that we can't afford to make ourselves, that they can, I wouldn't say subsidize, but they're not making a profit on it. Showing us different technologies, I think the mindset of the government has changed to helping manufacturers. It's helping small manufacturers. And that's been for the last, I would say, 10 years that we've seen that change of attitude. I think the attitude is the most important thing. They want us. 20 years ago, all they wanted was service and insurance and banking. They didn't care who we were. Okay, no matter what we made, they didn't want it. The tide has changed, because what I think they're realizing is we pay better, and we're here to stay, and we're all small, so no one of us leaves and hurts the state. Aetna walks out,
Yeah.
I mean, you just saw it. They laid off 4,000 people.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do that if we wanted to. I think that's a big change.
Another thing, one thing that I want to do a piece of Verado content on is reshoring. And I think there's some macro trends that are really pushing the needle on reshoring. And I don't think it's going to slow down. I think it's going to accelerate for a lot of reasons that are like I said, macro global economic trends and political trends. And I think Connecticut is well positioned to take advantage of that because of our diversity in manufacturing. I think we can really accelerate with that trend. And I think the state knows it, and the state's also backing it. So I think it's a really good outlook, I think, for the state moving forward in the next 10 years.
In the manufacturing summit about a month ago, a couple weeks ago, the manufacturing team had a futurist come and talk about the global demographics and how that's going to benefit Connecticut. That was fascinating to see how all that was mapping out. It's like, where's he going? But it was really very interesting.
Yeah.
Get a chance to watch that talk from the manufacturing summit. So, other questions? think we're on time. See, I think we're on time. Thank you.
So that's it for the talks. I'll just say, this event is our first one. It's not our last one.